So today's topic is going to be social media. And when you say, why does that matter? Why is it relevant? I'm just trying to decide if I'm going to stay in my marriage, if I'm going to leave. There are just some things in life that once done can't be undone. And we generally tend to regret them, like drunk texting. I want you to think about getting on social media when you're upset, when you're hurt, when you're afraid, when you're ready to vent and don't know where else to do it. Stop. Don't do it. Because once it's out there for good. And even if you take it down, people can have gone behind you, taken screenshots, and it's just not good. Because all of this at some point, depending on where you go, could end up being fodder for a pretty ugly day in court. So, Elizabeth, let's talk about what happens when we post our personal stuff out on social media and why it's not a good idea.
Well, first of all, like you said, we're hurt, we're upset, and we may say something that comes from that hurt and upset place. But what's really important to understand is divorce attorneys look on social media to see if you're on there posting, what you're posting about, and if they can find any clues. So you need to think about this from the perspective of you're under a microscope. Everything that you do and you say is being watched and recorded and saved, not necessarily by your ex-husband. It could be his attorney. It is the number one place that attorneys go to find out about the other party. So that is like the big shiny object, if you will, or the big red alert sign of why you shouldn't do it. And studies are showing that it's actually coming down to factor into things like child custody, separation of marital assets, even alimony or your child support not payments, but your child support income received. So it's too dangerous. It's way too dangerous. And like you said, Allison, I think probably most people are guilty at least one time of drunk texting. And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? And you want to undo it. So when you put it in that terms, it's really, I guess, kind of simple to relate to. But putting anything on social is, like you said, fodder for the attorneys. And even if you're not posting something that is angry or lashing out in hurt and pain, if you're claiming, here's a good for instance, if you're claiming that you don't have any money, he makes so much more than you, and his leaving is going to put you in dire financial circumstances, and then you post that you're at the Chanel store buying a new Chanel bag, that's going to come back to haunt you. So there's so many ways it can hurt you.
And even what we think is the most innocent of comments, in these days of the parenting disputes, now that they've got joint parenting, have not gotten easier. They've gotten more contentious because now either way, and it's not the given that mom's going to get the kids. And face facts, we're all women here and we want our kids. But even the most innocent of comments, if you get out there and say, I can't believe he blah, 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 whatever you want to put in there, it can even be your own attorney looking at that and going, okay, so now I've got a client that's not even a credible witness because there she is on social media calling her husband names, talking about what a bad parent he is, or that he missed picking up his kids. Those kids can go online and see that. And that then becomes the basis for a case of parental alienation. And so what you've sworn you wouldn't do and tried so diligently not to do in front of your children, you've now slapped it out on the middle of social media. And any normal person out there would assume if you're willing to put it out there, you're saying it in your house.
You mentioned something too. You made a comment about how it could lead to your own attorney thinking that you're not a credible witness. It could also lead to totally destroying the information that you've provided, not knowing what is truth and what is a lie. Because if you presented some information to your attorney and then you say something totally different on social media, what is your attorney to believe? What is the truth? And so now, not only are you not a credible witness if it did go to court, now the attorney your attorney doesn't trust you and doesn't know if you're telling the truth or telling a lie. And that's not a place any of us want to be. You need to have trust with your attorney. Your attorney needs to have trust with you. Goes both ways.
Elizabeth, you bring up something that I mentioned in the chapter, find a good attorney. You know, the important thing in finding a good attorney is finding someone that you're going to be comfortable talking to, that you feel comfortable opening up, because they're going to ask a lot of questions that, quite frankly, would be hard pressed to make me answer in front of two of my best girlfriends. Okay. They're going to ask all of those questions about your marriage, about your relationship, about your relations, about what goes on when nobody else is looking. Being that credible witness for your attorney so that they know what to do and how to plan and how to prepare for your case. When you start putting stuff out there just because you want to hurt him, just because you want him to see you having fun in the sun with all your girlfriends or whomever, hopefully it's not another guy, it's going to backfire, not only with his attorney and him, but your friends and your attorney. They need to know that when they ask you questions, you're going to answer them honestly, so they know how to help you.
I think it's also worth noting that according to the National Law Review, 81%, that's a big number, 81% of attorneys discover something meaningful on social media that they can use in the court case or in the settlement. So you don't want to be one of those 81% that puts something out there that can be used against you. So you don't get some certain thing, condition, money, situation that you're seeking. You don't want to lose. It's not worth the risk. I mean, first of all, social media, it's not worth a lot of the risk that we all take on a regular basis, but certainly not in the middle of your divorce. And what I tell people is just get off completely. You don't have to totally disable your account, but you can go inactive. And if you need some sort of, I don't know, social media rush or adrenaline or whatever that is, it's the dopamine rush, then do something like YouTube, where you can get on there and you can search for videos. You can listen and be entertained if that's what you're looking for. And yet you're not posting and you're not speaking out in ways that could harm you. But really, the best medicine is to get off everything completely until your divorce is done. And that means signed by the judge. Done.
And if you cannot follow it, which people don't always follow advice, I get that, be very conscientious. When you do go online, look at what you're saying, look at what you're posting. And remember that, are you posting this out of anger? Are you posting this out of hurt? Or are you proud of your kids and the accomplishment they just made at school? If that's the case and you want to, brag about your kid getting an award at the end of the school year that nobody else got, that's great. But how did you word it? Did you get any digs in there? Take them all out. Because it's not just the attorneys and it's not just the friends, but it could be the parents of your kids' friends. It could be the spouse that you've just bashed all over the place that might have wanted to get back together if you wanted to get back together. You never know what's going to happen with what you put out there.
Even the piece, what caught my attention is about other parents. And if you are still raising children, the school-age children, you're friends with any of their friends' parents, Do you really want them seeing that on social media and then telling little Johnny, hey, we're not going to play with him anymore because there's a lot of friction going on in that household? You don't want to bring your kids into it. And I think that that would be, if nothing else prevents you from doing it, do it for that reason, to protect your kids.
When we're going through a divorce, our children are not getting divorced. We are.
Yeah, and to go one step further, if you are in an amicable situation with your departing spouse or your departing, maybe you have a mutual agreement that you're both going to stay off of social media for the duration of the divorce process. And that way you're not seeing his stuff, he's not seeing your stuff. Neither of you are bashing each other. Neither you getting digs in, and you can keep all your personal business private, which is where it should be.